compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on February the 9th, 2018, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel, Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo?
Here.
All members are present.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd, both regular and closed session A and B minutes?
Motion approved. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor.
All right, so we're going to move the agenda around a little bit. We'll forego the report of the governing body members at this point so that we can make some really important presentations. So, the first one that we're going to do is congratulating the Upper Township hockey team, the Upper Riptide, on becoming the 2017 Cape May County 2nd to 4th grade foot division hockey champions. Did I say that right? All right, so when I call your name, and I hope I don't mess these names up, and if I do, please tell me and I'll correct it. We'll ask you to come up and the committee will pass these out. I think we have some sort of semblance too, so Gabe Donovan is first. Brian Falk. Well, this one you're going to make sure I say this one right. Anthony.
This is our high school team you're announcing.
Oh, that's the high school team? All right, wait a minute. All right, let's start over. I'm sorry.
You can't have yours.
You know what? All right. Let's do the high school, but I'll read that first, okay? So
Stand up here, go take a picture.
So the high school team is Upper Township 1 high school hockey team finished with impressive season in second place. The Upper Township team participated in Cape May County Hockey League Championships in December 2017 and won the 2017 Cape May County High School Division Championship by sweeping the best of 3 series with game scores of 6-5 and 3-0. So we have Gabe up here. We have Brian Falk up here. We have Brian.
Brian's not here.
Okay. Anthony. Friend.
He's
What?
also not here.
Anthony's not. Okay.
He's sick tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna take
Andrew Hersenrider.
Andrew's.
Joseph Lloyd. Sam Truly. And Tristan Metz. So the rest of the resolution reads, we also extend this recognition and thanks to Ed, John Mahoney, and Ryan Schiffler, who have generously given their personal time and service to coach this team. And therefore be it resolved that the Township Committee, on behalf of the citizens of Upper Township, extend to Upper Township 1 or I team congratulations on becoming the 2017 Cape May County Hockey League High School Division champions, and to each of our coaches, heartfelt thanks and gratitude for their generous donation of their time and service for the young people of our community. I'll make this easy. I'll just stand. I'll stand up and shake everyone's hand.
It's like the mayor one.
Yeah, I didn't win. Think about that.
Did you get the trophy in?
Oh, yeah.
Good job, guys. All right, great job.
Congratulations. All right, and now we will bring up the younger. So the resolution reads. Should have these in order. Whereas the Upper Township 2nd to 4th grade foot division hockey team, Upper Riptide, White, had undefeated 2017 hockey season, whereas they recently participated in the Cape May County Championship games in December 2017 and won the Cape May County Championship for their division, winning 2 of 3 playoff games. Whereas it is appropriate that on behalf of the citizens of Upper Township, we recognize and congratulate the players as listed. Jeffrey Tacarino, Jacob Bond, Caitlin Schaefer, Josh Pashley, Morgan Williams, Jude McAfee, Mason Rucci, Jack Lee, Jessica Colwell, Eddie Fuller, Ryan Bacon, Luke Passarella, Gavin Oliver, and Finn Godfrey. And the rest of the resolution says, whereas we also extend this recognition and thanks to Bill Godfrey, James Passarella, and Jeff Battersby, who have generously given their personal time and service to coach this team, and that the Township Committee, on behalf of the citizens of the Township of Upper, extend to Upper Township 2nd to 4th grade foot division hockey team, Upper Riptide, White, congratulations on becoming the 2017 state.
Thank you. You guys all got a sign. All right, tighten it up.
So we expect you back here, as you know, go through the ranks, so we can walk around you every year when we win the championships. Good job, everybody. Thank you. You're welcome to stay, but Curtis has an announcement.
Before everybody leaves, though, I just have one announcement here that's very important to us in our local fundraising effort for our rescue squad. They are selling roses today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. $25 a dozen. Best deal in town for roses. So Valentine's Day's Wednesday if everybody forgot. This is your reminder, so the rescue squad is selling roses.
Yeah, on the same vein, while you're here, I was going to announce it during the regular part. Our Easter egg hunt will be March 24th, Mandas Field starting at 1 o'clock. We're doing around 30,000 eggs this year, along with maybe some gifts, hopefully pony rides, petting zoo, and different things. And for the youth organizations, we are looking for volunteers to help us stuff those 30,000 eggs. So last year we did about 25,000 and we're increasing it. So it'll be March 24th at 1 o'clock and the rain date will be the 25th.
Sounds like a great service
And I wanna
project
say-
for a hockey team.
Eric, I also want to bring attention to Eric. He's done a phenomenal job with the Riptide. And God bless you.
And also, while we have the audience, our public rabies clinic, the free rabies clinic, is Saturday, February 17th. But it's more important to get roses.
So now that you've heard all the public service announcements, you're certainly welcome to stay, but I'm sure you have a lot of other things to do, homework, and get everybody ready, so you can exit now, and thank you all for coming.
Great job.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, nice coach.
Just an odd.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
don't stay with me. You're free to work.
Have a good night. So not to be outdone though, we actually have another presentation that we'd like to take care of this evening. But before we do that, we need to make a motion to approve the resolution that honors Citizen Emergency Response Team member Gail Davidson. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
So before I read the resolution, Scott, will you give us a little summary of why we're here honoring Gail Davidson?
I'd be glad to, Mayor. My office, the Office of Administration, received an email from Lieutenant Stephen Schaefer on January 25th, and it basically explains this. On January 25th at approximately 2:40 p.m., a serious motor vehicle accident occurred on Route 9 in the Seaville section of Upper Township. Several 911 calls were received by our communications center and Ocean City Police Department reporting a head-on collision with entrapment, a utility pole down, and a grass fire on the side of the road. One of the 911 calls was made by one of the CERT Community Emergency Response Team members, Gail Davidson, who was only a few car lengths behind the accident and witnessed it happen. During her 911 call, she relayed pertinent information to the dispatcher that there was a fire, wires were down, and the jaws of life would be needed. Gail pulled her vehicle to the side of the road, put on her CERT vest, and immediately began assisting at the accident scene. Upon the arrival of fire and rescue personnel, she remained on location and directed traffic away from the accident scene while emergency crews extricated the patient from the vehicle. Once the extrication was complete and the patient was transported to the landing zone, Gail was relieved from her post by fire department personnel. Gail is to be commended for her quick thinking and professional actions today. She jumped into an emergency role on her own initiative and had the training to be aware of the need for her to remain on the traffic post until emergency workers had the incident stabilized enough to dedicate resources to traffic control and relieve her from that position. Fantastic job was noted by the Ocean City Police Department.
Okay, so because of that, we thought it was fitting that we recognize what Gail had done in an emergency situation. So the resolution reads, whereas the members of the Upper Township Committee are honored to recognize the heroic acts of Ocean City Upper Township CERT member Gail Davidson for her quick and professional assistance during a recent motor vehicle accident. On January 25th, a serious motor vehicle accident occurred on Route 9 in the Seaville section of the township. Upon witnessing the accident, Gail quickly called 911 and reported there was a fire, wires down, and the jaws of life would be needed. Whereas upon the arrival of the fire and rescue, Gail then remained on location and directed traffic away from the accident scene, while emergency crews extricated the patient from the vehicle, ensuring that emergency workers were able to focus all of their resources to the accident. With her quick thinking and expertise, Gail provided precious life-saving minutes for the victim by relaying pertinent information to the responding emergency personnel. Whereas it is fitting and proper for the Township of Upper to honor Gail, who through her knowledgeable and selfless actions during this incident perfectly represented the principles of the Community Emergency Response Team, better known as CERT. So, congratulations.
Thanks, Scott.
Come on up here.
She's blushing already.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering for the CERT.
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
There's your
Thank you,
resolution.
Scott. Thank you. I really appreciate this. Oh, am I supposed to?
She's in uniform, too.
Can we get Scott in here?
Yeah,
Scott, he's my boss. He taught me everything I know.
You stand in there. Come on.
Is she on the other side?
The most needed
Oh,
surrogate.
my gosh.
Well, we really thank you for all that you've done and your volunteerism.
It's
It's
a
a-
really good community emergency response team. Everyone should have the opportunity to take training. It's very good knowledge to have for any type of emergency situation, man-made or a natural disaster.
Well, we hope that we won't need your services, but we're happy that you're going to be
Thank you.
Mayor, I want to point out too, also an acknowledgement of Upper Township Rescue Squad, and the great job that they did during this accident, as well as the fire victims. And I will say, I was given an update today on the status of the lady that was extricated, and she is now in rehabilitation, I'm happy to say. She's got a long road to go, but considering that day, her condition, she's really advanced.
Great. All right, let's go back to see who's got some reports for us this evening. Scott, what do you have for us?
I only have one thing this evening. Most of mine are for a closed session, but I did want to report on communications. I've been working with Mike Bailey, our communications consultant, Wireless Communications, one of our vendors, and Rick Connors, who is also a radio vendor that we employed to take a look at our communication towers, both here at Township Hall and then out at Stell Manor, the Tuckahoe Turf Farm. There have been some concerns that came to my attention through the Upper Township Chiefs Association, and specifically through the communications liaison, Chief Newman, that there may be some problems here at Township Hall and also possibly the Stell Manor. I'm happy to report that through the review by those vendors that our tower here, all the antennas, cabling, and all the way these devices are secured to the tower were reviewed and also properly secured here at Township Hall. And then also recently, what we did find out last week was that the antenna at Stell Manor, Tuckahoe Turf Farm, had been hit by lightning. And so that we had some communications problems as a result of that we've been experiencing over the past year or so. But that was replaced and properly secured once again to that antenna. They checked the overall systems, and both antennas are now putting out what they're by standard are supposed to. So, and that was all actually done with 2017 funding, that 17 funding that we had encumbered from last year. So we're well on way to taking an overall look at our communication systems here in Upper Township, and I look forward to doing some additional work in 2018 along those lines.
Okay. Barbara?
Not much to report, just wanted to remind everyone that township offices will be closed on February 19th for President's Day, and trash collection will be collected, trash and recycling will be collected the following day on Tuesday, the 20th. That's all I have this evening, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Nothing at this time, but no writings for closed session.
Paul?
Thank you. Just want to report back on some items that a committee had asked me about. The street lights up on Route 50, did talk to Lansing Electric. They were actually waiting on the delivery of 4 additional lights to complete that order. They're hoping that they would have been delivered by the end of this week, and that the work should be scheduled hopefully by the end of the month to have the rest of the lights installed in Tuckahoe as far as the new project. And then once those are done, they'll come back probably within a week or two after that and take down the secondary lights that we had requested to take down in Tuckahoe.
Okay, great.
The patch that was out at Amanda's Field had been corrected. This contractor, South State, was out there last week and corrected that low area in the paving out in front of baseball, so that was all taken care of last week. They were able to get it.
I didn't go to the back. Did they take care of the lip in that back parking?
No, that's something I have to talk, because that was something outside their scope of work. So I'm going to probably talk with Public Works and see if we can get that taken care of with Public Works. Follow up with the ATVs. As I reported before, we did get the mining operator did get the work done out there. The 4 gentlemen that were in court were successfully prosecuted and had some pretty stiff fines levied to those 4 individuals. So hopefully the word of that will get out to some of their friends, and I think they understood that they shouldn't come back to ride in the pits, that it's not safe and for area for them to be riding in. So I just wanted to let the committee know that we had a successful completion for that aspect. And we had a request from the Upper Township School Board for me to prepare a site plan. They're looking at, if you remember, everybody remembers the old portables, I'll say, out in front of the elementary school. They're looking, they've been utilized for probably the last 4 or 5 years for storage. They're looking to demolish those down and put up a storage building. And they're requesting me to prepare the site plan for that aspect of the project. So I just need a motion to authorize me. It'll be about 3 or 4 hours of my time to draw this
Actually,
plan.
that would be a great opportunity before they demo them, when they get really got for the township to do some nice drills in there with
The supervisor for buildings and grounds over at the school has already coordinated with Memorial Fire Rescue to. They're going to do some ceiling excavations, and they're going to have a couple night drill in there. So I think that they're planning on that.
So motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
No roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Just
Both.
And then just finally an update, we're looking like we're getting the work done in advance of, I'll say, the spring season for some of the beach crossovers over in Strathmere. We're getting, Public Works is kind of taking a look at doing, replacing and rehabbing some of those. And we're also getting a jump start. They've started the work over at Webster Avenue, park improvements. They've raised that ground, and we're coordinating with scheduling the fencing and the concrete work, and I think we're on a good target to have that park opened up.
And to further elaborate, Committeeman Young had made comment in regard to a little bit of a concern regarding some of those crossovers and whether or not we could proceed without some sort of approval from the New Jersey DEP. We did reach out, Paul reached out to them, and a couple of the locations, you were absolutely correct. We actually have to file for permit if we were going to proceed in those locations. So what we're going to do this year is just take a better look at the crossovers as far as the stairs are concerned in those areas, make sure they're properly constructed to code, and we're addressing all those. They're mostly down the Whale Beach area, and so, but that is not to say that we can't take a look at those next year if we feel that a crossover is more than, would be more than adequate in those particular.
Yeah, I think a few crossovers are definitely warranted. You know, I mean, it's easier on some people to walk up the grade than up the steps.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that, you know, I plant a lot of that dune grass, and I know how strict they are on the dunes. And
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
the thing we have to take into consideration, though, is that beyond doing the step crossovers, we really need to provide adequate handicap access as well.
Correct.
And, you know, in developing whatever we're going to do, the plan, we need to make sure that we have some handicap access, not just for handicap. I mean, there's a lot of folks that need some help, have a ramp area instead of steps. I know that more on the north end, a lot of the dune area is utilized as paths now, not necessarily, you know, that I think, as a matter of fact, on Vincent, there's some wooden area, but for the most part, you're utilizing the path that's developed on the dune, and then with the crossover on the wood, then you go back into the dune. So I think as we develop this plan, let's keep that in mind. It's not just steps and it's not just ramps, sand ramps. We also need to devise some handicap opportunities as well.
Absolutely. The locations, actually, I can report that Randolph, Summers, Tecumseh, Vincent, Webster, and Whittier are the locations that we're looking at for the crossover. And we also, I'm working with Public Works to take a look at the Moby mats at those particular locations to make sure that they don't also need to be replaced. There's a possibility that there is one that may need to be replaced, so we are looking at that.
Is there a way to identify them on the street end though, too? For the people that are driving around?
Actually, I believe there's signage, if that's what you're talking about.
Right in the street, like if you're going down Commonwealth, you can drive right down Commonwealth and be able to tell which street has
Handicap.
handicap ramps
Oh,
on
the
it.
handicap.
Okay,
So-
yeah,
So you're not going all the way down the end of the street and finding out.
actually, at each crossover, there are the two, I'll say, dedicated handicap locations. They are on each of we have a sign at each location with identifying that its location, whether in Whale Beach, it gives an address on Commonwealth Avenue, or the other ones are street address, but it does give the two locations of the the official handicap locations.
Do we have that on our website too?
It's on the Beach Patrol website location. I don't think it's on our main site, but it's something we can probably
Yeah, we can
add in there.
there's no signage out on Commonwealth that says handicap access.
Yes, sir, on all the not in, I'll say, not in town where, no, there's nothing.
No, but I think that's
If you're driving
what,
down Commonwealth, you'd be able to tell right away.
Probably wouldn't hurt to get a sign on Commonwealth Avenue.
Yeah.
And it would be the only one up in town that is like that is Williams, and, well, I guess Williams and Putnam are the two locations.
Yeah.
So we can
and
have-
speaking of the mats, we keep substantial amount of the mats there on Williams, because that's also where, you know, we have the porta potties and stuff, so,
Correct.
you know, it may be beyond repair, where maybe we might have to consider purchasing a couple more in some of these other spots.
And since we're talking about the beach and access, we have to put together a policy about our gates. We have 2 gates for vehicles to drive on there. They need to be kept shut when the beach is open. Because vehicle ramming, whether we want to admit it or not, happens. The only thing that's going to stop a vehicle is the sheer amount of bodies you can pile up under it. So, we should probably put a policy together to keep our gates shut when the beach is open.
Well, it all depends on whether or not that one vehicle that they use, what we're using for emergency response. And if the gate's shut or locked.
They can park, the responders would be able to get through.
The first responders can open the gate, and that's,
No, but time could be of the essence. I think
Seconds?
we'll have to put some sort of plan together if we do that.
park the vehicle on the other side of the gate.
That blocks the access.
Well, I mean, Just like the boardwalks.
Well, you don't need to talk about these now.
I mean, just like the boardwalks and everything, they wanna put their head in the sand and pretend it's not gonna happen. Well, the tractor trailer went 5 miles down the boardwalk in Atlantic City to Bank.
I don't deny that this world has changed and what we have to be cognizant of, but I also think that plans should be put in place, you know, not a knee-jerk reaction. We need to
It's
figure
not
out.
a knee-jerk, we got time before the beach opens to think about it.
I think we can work with Chief Potter at my office if we can come up with a plan.
Anything else? Paul?
No, that's all I had, thank you.
Barbara?
I just have one item, kind of cleanup from our budget workshop, if I'm not stepping on committee meetings. Coggins Toes, I think we had a productive meeting tonight, however, we still have some more work to do. Our next meeting will be February 26th, 6 PM, again for the budget workshop, is that?
Yes.
That works.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
All right, Committeeman Coggins, do you have anything?
And I'll just, follow up on that with the next meeting. We should be prepared to talk about Public Works, EMS, and the beach patrol. I think, Scott, you can probably get through the OEM fairly quickly on that, so hopefully it'll go a little bit quicker than it did. We kind of got down in the weeds a little bit, but it was probably well needed.
Always has computer software. All right, Committeeman Young.
Again, Board made a flyer to the Easter egg hunt, and again, it's March 24th at 1 o'clock at Amanda's. Rain date is the 25th. We're in 4 different age groups, the same as last year. And we are looking for volunteers or groups that would want to take a couple thousand eggs and stuff them and bring them back to us. And anybody that would like to do that, Barbara, I guess they can contact the clerk's office.
Yes.
It would be greatly appreciated. I'm already active with getting the senior citizens building, and two other organizations are going to take a couple thousand and see how fast they can get them done before they take more. They don't want to make a commitment. So that's that. Paul, just check remediation, anything on the old hall?
We've gotten all the contract documents back, and the contractor and our consultant that's doing the investigation are coordinating a pre-construction meeting just to go over the filing of the permitting back with the state, and I anticipate that should be done next week.
Okay, thank you. And we're moving along with the dugouts at Amanda's Field on all 4 of the fields. Rock work is pretty much up and done. We're heading towards putting the roofs on. And also we're moving forward with constructing a press box and storage facility on site. And I wanted to say thank you to baseball. They have come through with a substantial amount of money to buy the superior walls for the first floor part of it, and are working close with us. And we're going to, again, hopefully we'll get that finalized maybe Wednesday. We've made a few changes with the way we're handling some things in projects, and I think it's really going to work with meetings and construction meetings and that kind of things to try to streamline some of this process and to keep some of the mistakes to a minimum for having too many hands in the mix. So I think it's going to be a good thing. That's all I have.
Deputy Mayor Barr.
Well, I have one thing here. Looks like our Senator Van Drew introduced a bill, S-246, in an attempt to improve public access in the lower end of the state, particularly Ocean, Atlantic, Salem, Kennedy County area, and Camden. To have meetings in our area for any projects that are going on down here. So I make a motion that we draft a letter or a letter of support for his bill, because apparently it's gone to the Senate, it's supported in the Senate, then it's going to get into the Assembly. So I think it's something in our best interest for the projects and some of the projects we have going on here. All right, it's at 20, so that we can have some type of public input down here on our end of the county.
I'll second that motion.
Our end of the state. And also, in addition to that, apparently there's a vacancy on their board, and I think they're looking to have somebody to represent the southern half of the state from one of our counties. So I think we should spread a letter of support and have them consider somebody from down here to represent us.
So you have a first and a second.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Committeeman Corson?
Thank you. Just want to recap what I said earlier. We have Upper Township Rabies Clinic, Saturday, February 17th. We've done, to date, 605 dogs have been licensed so far this year. So I think we're doing very well with licensing dogs, and I think I'll probably take my dog up there and get a rabies shot in the license maybe. But also, the rescue squad is selling roses for people that didn't hear earlier. We are today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. That's all I have.
Okay.
Oh.
Nope, should I?
I did have one more thing. We were talking in our budget workshop about the advertising letters. We should do a resolution, ask the state legislators to look at that again. What that is, Dan, we were talking about the public notices and all that in the newspapers. It's
Electronic
archaic.
notification is what you're looking for?
Yeah, it's archaic.
Support of
Even- yeah.
electronically. There always are bills pending for that. They're significantly objected to by the press because it's a revenue stream.
Because it's the only thing that's funding. It's the only thing that's funding the press or the printed paper today.
Well,
Well, how about if we send it to them electronic? And then they can print it.
sorry about that.
But it's one of those things. It's archaic.
Yeah.
There's another scare, Scott.
That's all I have.
I just have a couple quick things. One, as you all know, we are part of the 16 municipalities that are part of the Cape May County Coast Guard Community Foundation. They are having their Coast Guard Community Festival on May 3rd to the 6th, and they were asking for us to give a festival contribution of $350 that help give the active duty military folks at the Coast Guard base lunches. We have done this in the past. I just brought it before you. I think it's a worthwhile cause. Certainly, living on coastal areas, we rely on the Coast Guard, and you just never know when an emergency would occur where we need their services. So I'd like to make a motion that we sponsor the $350 as requested by the Cape May County Community Festival.
Second.
John said.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Now, I don't want to get into a big discussion about this, but earlier, or towards the end of last year, we talked with some Strathmere folks about the bulkhead on Bayview Drive and how we could best accomplish that. So I'd like to see us start actively working with some folks over there, and then also get some idea of what that type of project would cost to bring up the bulkhead up to a level so we don't go to that flood stage. I had suggested that it might make sense to bond it so that we don't put it overly burden the residents that would be affected by it. I don't know what it would cost, and I'd like to start getting some preliminary figures. I know we're doing budget, but I think this is going to be different anyway. This will be a separate bonded, I guess, request that we'll go forward with. And I'd like to get some idea of what we're talking about. There may be some residents that feel they would rather pay it at one time, but for those folks that need some help, I think it's only fair that we bond it and we space it out over 10 years or whatever we need to do to make this happen.
Like an added assessment?
Yeah, I think it's an assessment, but I think it's also...
Well, you can do it as an assessment, and you can do it as a
Right.
bond. What you're talking about when you bond it is that they would pay you back.
Right.
There are mechanisms, we did some preliminary review of it after it was brought up previously. It can be done, I spoke to bond counsel. I think the biggest thing is to gauge from the community in Strathmere the folks in that area would want to participate in. You don't want to set up a program, spend the expense with the bond council or whatever, and then find out that they're not interested in proceeding.
And I think I think the first step is really, we gotta have a survey of the bulkhead. It's just to determine, the elevation of all the bulkheads and what types
That's
of bulkheads.
basically what I'm asking you to do.
And I'll come back with a price of that and also a preliminary engineering study, because once you have that information, then you can kind of, judge, okay, does the bulkhead have to be replaced, or can we modify it?
Well, because I think, as I recall the discussion, there were, obviously several representatives of Strathmere that were here, and there were those that certainly supported having the bulkhead raised, and many of who, or some of whom, don't even live on Bayview. And, we were trying to be cognizant of the overall cost for the residents that were there. I know that we have some building code that all new projects would have to raise the bulkhead up to a certain level.
Yes.
But by having that, we might also, be creating some additional problems for the lower areas. So I think this is a project that I don't want to waste, much more time, not waste, but I mean, we kind of let it go by the wayside for a couple months, and it's time to resurrect it. And I'd like to see where we can get with this before we start having major storms, potentially in the fall with,
I'll report over, maybe not next meeting, but the following,
Okay.
definitely by the first meeting in April.
You're going to have an education process, because it's not just the new bulkhead, it's the impact to the slips, it's the impact to the rights to the water, it's the access, because that it could end up looking like a wall because of the elevation of the land. All that is probably, you need some meetings with folks in that area, I think, to describe what will happen.
Do we have some control points? We know what the elevation is on some of the bulkheads.
We have some, but and that's why I want to, I have to find out whether or not I have enough control points, whether or not, and I can discuss this, whether I can go out and take some of the physical surveys, but then, really, whether we go out and find a bulkheading expert that really has the full gamut, that can kind of really go, because every property has built a bulkhead. There's only a couple of spots where I'll say several neighbors have built a bulkhead as a group, where you have one continuous bulkhead. Everything's, kind of.
But, I mean, we have a couple control points from maybe our boat ramp, where we just.
Well, we did the survey of Bayview Avenue, so I have survey.
I mean, can we take and come up with the elevations ourselves, or do we actually have to pay somebody?
We may be able to, if I can have some assistance maybe from Public Works to have a second person out there, we might be able to work out getting those elevations
I think
in-house.
what we're looking is a preliminary, so I'd like to see Paul and get some assistance from the Public Works to give us some idea, and then we'll have to schedule some sort of, open meeting in Strathmere, or ask them to come here, where we can, really sit down and go through what we're talking about here and what the cost could potentially be.
Right.
And the problem is, though, and I'm not gonna, the bulkhead is not a stable solution. I mean, the problem is, with the storm surge we had last time came from the south side across the meadow. And unless we bulkhead that, I don't think
But I think
these
the
ever
initial,
let you
but the
bulkhead that.
initial, Kirsten, the initial discussion for the bulkheads was was regarding the FEMA limb wall line and the designation from the
zone.
flood insurance rate maps and the zoning designation. So I think the impetus was partially from a flood control and flood prevention, but more from what would prevent the wave action from coming into town.
Yes.
and controlling the flood zone designation and precipitate a change in the flood zone for those bulkheaded front first row properties.
So I know that we have a lot of things going on right now, but that's something I'd like to see if we could prioritize. And, I can accept having a report, in 30 days, if we can do that at the next, I guess it's the first meeting.
First meeting in March.
First meeting in March.
I think we can work on having some preliminary information for that meeting.
Perfect. That's all I have.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. One public relations announcement, because we are talking about a lot of digital public relations tonight. I wanted to let the residents know, and the press that's here, that we have a new website, Upper Township website. It's www.uppertownship.com.
And please go out and take a look at it. It's, a lot of the links will support a lot of our township activities, and it has a whole new.
Okay. So, we've digressed enough. Let's move on to the rest of the, number resolution, I guess it's number 2.
Item number
It's
4.
4 on the
Yes.
agenda.
Appointing Keith A. Bonci, attorney at law in the offices of GMS Law, as special legal counsel to complete certain interim foreclosure matters.
Move the resolution.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, appointing Frank Garaschini III to serve as an additional municipal prosecutor on an as-needed basis.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, authorizing a shared services agreement with the Board of Fire Commissioners, Upper Township Fire District Number 2, for the purchase of gasoline diesel fuel.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, authorizing the engineer to solicit bids for the re-roofing of the municipal building.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, authorizing the assignment of tax sale certificate number 13-00025.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, authorizing the assignment of the tax sale certificate number 13-00026.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, refund EMS ambulance billing overpayments to United of Omaha Life Insurance Company.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, authorizing,
This item, I believe, should be tabled. It's with regard to a potential settlement of the Fair Housing Center litigation. It's the affordable housing litigation, and that's a closed session item to go over that potential settlement. So I believe it should be tabled till after closed session.
okay. All right, item number 12, under new business, Upper Township Baseball request use of fields for baseball tournament, April 27th, 28th, 29th, 2018. And they do have all the required insurances and approvals from State Police, Public Works, EMS.
Didn't I see something on that application marked incomplete, or has that subsequently been complete?
No, it's been complete.
All right, thanks.
Need a motion to approve? Motion to approve the application?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 13, Carl Dinkorowski requests to purchase township-owned property, Block 306, Lot 5.
Before you proceed with this, I'm advised by the clerk's office and by Paul that Lot 6 adjacent to this, there is a potential that that's going to come in for a request of land purchase from the township as well. The problem is Lot 6, if we grant Lot 5's request that's in front of you, it would landlock Lot 6, but if they don't come in, if the neighboring property owners don't buy it, we create a landlocked parcel owned by the township. So it's my recommendation, and I've talked to Paul about this, that if it is in fact true that there will be a request to purchase Lot 6, that request should be acted on first, that this request should not proceed until Lot 6 is sold, if that's what's happening. Otherwise, I don't know why you would sell land that landlocks other parcels of yours. And just for your edification as well, 10 years ago, approximately, 8 to 10 years ago, there was a similar request for both 5 and 6 from this applicant
The same
that he decided not to proceed with because it was too costly. So I would table it and ask that perhaps the applicant be told of the problem with the landlocked
So,
Lot 6.
but it looks like that the applicant owns both of the properties that would be adjoining to 6 and 5, right?
My understanding is he's sold across the street to someone else, and they're going to come in and ask to buy Lot 6.
That person across the street that's in that block 305, 4 to 9.
Right.
He actually owns the house on that lot 1 and owns that, so, so essentially that person's gonna request lot 6, and then, this person's gonna request lot 5.
Okay, so one actually owns 4, 5, 6,
Right.
7, 8, 9.
I think they've
Well, we
agreed
haven't
upon
seen the
things, and
deed.
they're just
The
waiting for
deed hasn't
The
hit the
deed
clerk's
hasn't
office
come
yet.
in yet, but that's
I mean, I don't
our
know,
understanding
I
of
don't
it.
know if you wanna, I mean, could they, if you could just make it,
You could preliminarily say condition upon the sale, application and sale, but I would just bring it back afterwards, table it, because
Okay.
then it gets confusing. What did we really do? What happens if it doesn't come in? It's an open item. But he should understand it.
Okay, I mean, I think we should listen to the advice of our attorney as to, how to proceed with it, so.
You need a motion to
Okay,
table?
motion to,
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
The motion is carried to table this item. Item number 14, Rotowski and Trainer Incorporated request to purchase township-owned property, Block 735, Lot 21.02.
Paul, what's going on there? Are they,
the history of this piece of parcel is very unique in that back in the 50s, the former Parkway New Jersey Highway Authority actually owned that strip and, and kind of continued across all of these lots. And, in the time when they were putting in the Parkway and looking to relocate Harbor Road, on there, this was one of the proposed relocation locations, where they were going to put their potential right-of-way for Harbor Road in as a relocation. However, they put it in a different spot. All of the other portions of, I'll say that former future right-of-way were deeded back and given back to that the underlying property owners, except this one. This one remained in the highway authorities, or, this nebulous, and at some point, I think it was in the 70s, the township, it was struck to the township because it was just an unknown owner, and it's been in our,
How can they come up with a value of that there?
it'd probably be most likely based on, like, what most of our other,
It's excess acreage is what it'll be valued
based
at.
on the square
It's not
footage.
buildable, obviously. It's whatever extra value you get by having it.
So obviously, the township has no use or benefit for it. It's well off the road, and it's just an isolated piece of land. Mr. Rotowski just recently purchased it. The Platts used to own it, and they had lived there for, ages, and they just never, they were getting older, and they never saw the reason to purchase it, because they kind of used it as part of their yard all these years anyway. So they never saw the need to do it, but he actually, his house is across the street on the other side of Harbor Road, and when he bought the Platt's house, he was just trying to clean up.
so lot 22 and 21.01, 21.03 are all owned by the person who wants to buy that?
Yes.
That's pretty much a no-brainer, I think.
That's not where they have the vegetable garden, is it? Like, when you get down?
No, that's going the other way on that other corner towards the Parkway side.
I guess they're going to consolidate the other ones?
That would be one of our
That's
normal
what we
conditions.
do,
requirement.
yes.
Yes.
And not, no further subdivision
Anything, I mean, it's okay for us to,
I don't have any problem with it. I see no issues.
I mean, because that would be the only thing is, if they connect 2103 and 2101 with that, I don't know if that
Is
would
there any reason why they wouldn't want to subdivide all of them? I mean, merge all of them?
with 22. That's the only thing I did not double check is the total acreage of 21, if you
There's
put
only
all
one
the
house
21
across the street, correct? That it's,
Right, but there is a house on 22. That-
Right.
there's a home on that?
Was that?
There's a home on 22?
Yes, there is.
It would
So it's a
appear to
separate. All right, so then it would just be 2103 and 2101.
Right.
be. Yeah,
is there a buildable lot in 2101 at this point?
If
It's
you,
landlocked.
I mean, 2101, it's landlocked, you couldn't build on it.
Okay, but if you combine 2103, 2102, and 2101,
I'd have to double check. I did not calculate.
because if those lots, that's probably why he doesn't want to combine those lots, because,
We don't want to create a buildable lot.
Right, I mean, that would be the only concern I would have, is that if they're not willing to combine it with 22, then you got two buildable lots.
well, I understand what you're saying, and we traditionally don't create buildable lots, but I look at the nature of where this is, and it'd be like creating a buildable lot in Strathmere. I don't think it's going to impact our school system, just because of the nature of where this one is. No, I mean, it may, don't get me, I mean, if I was rolling the dice,
Most of
I'd
the
say
people on
this is
Harbor
going
Road
to
are
be a second.
year-round residents.
What's that?
Most of the people on Harbor Road are year-round residents.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think we should look at it that way. I mean, typically this committee has always, tried to prevent consolidating of a township property to create a buildable lot.
I mean, I can report back to committee at the next meeting on the total acreage put together, and I can reach out
There's
to
nothing
them.
on 2103, right?
Correct, they're all, I mean, I'm not sure if that's, one of those lots actually has, this is also a unique area, all of the houses on that side of Harbor Road are all connected to a small community water system, and I think that might be where the well is located for all of the houses on Harbor Road, I believe. But I would say that, let me report back to committee at the next meeting regarding the total acreage, and I can reach out to Mr. Rotowski and find out his future, whether his intention was to combine it with Lot 22 or not.
I mean, that makes it a no-brainer if that happens, but my only concern would be if we sell that landlocked lot, which isn't doing anything, it's probably better to have it on the tax map anyway. But I don't know that we necessarily want to create another buildable lot.
And
Curtis, I take what you're saying as well.
It's valuable. I mean, people aren't building.
Well, you can ask, and you'll be able to find out when you ask the question, but does he mind consolidating? If he does, then he wants it as a buildable lot.
Correct.
So that answers your question, and then you'll make a decision based on that.
Motion to table. One of the few properties would actually support it.
Second. Call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Table this matter. Okay.
Someone like to make a motion to pay the bills.
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes, we have a number of reports from our municipal departments: clerk's office, construction code, division of EMS, finance office, municipal court, MUA report, tax collector's report, zoning board of adjustment 2017 annual report, certificate of determination and award bond anticipation note, Upper Township Green Team vision statement, Upper Township Green Team January 9, 2018 minutes, New Jersey Shade Tree and Community Forestry Assistant Act Annual Accomplishment Report. All of these reports are available upon request tomorrow morning at the clerk's office. I'll make a motion to accept the reports.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
At this time, we've reached the public comment of the portion of the meeting. If anyone would like to address the Township Committee now's the time to do so. Please walk up to the podium, state your name and your reason, name and address, and your reason for approaching the township or addressing the township committee.
My name is Linda Bateman, 14 East Tecumseh in Strathmere. Is it appropriate to ask a follow-up question to some of the budget things that were discussed tonight? Is this the forum?
Sure.
Obviously the budget isn't, in set in stone, but you can answer the question. Sure.
Well, it's very difficult to hear this side of the room. We can hear here, but we have difficulty. And I'm wondering if for future meetings, could the budget be projected on the wall so that we could see? Because, for instance, the item about how much money it will cost to police the use of the website, I'm not sure how much money that's going to be. Could you tell me how much that is going to be? Is this not something that could be handled at the department level? Aren't our employees working hard?
That portion is, it's electronic monitoring, so it's reporting that you set up on our SonicWall devices, and then it's all summarized, and that's part of that setup and maintenance, and that was just under $3,000.
$3,000? So that's to monitor which websites our employees, or township employees are using during the day?
Not only that, but it's also looking at intrusions or penetrations or requests that are coming into the township's SonicWall and firewalls. So it's looking at inbound and outbound traffic on that. So it's not just, one of the main tools is, yes, verifying and quantifying where the employees are on the web and where they're going and how much time, but it's also looking at, from a security standpoint, where are inquiries from the outside coming in, and are they going to specific computers or to the server, and how they are coming in and being treated.
There's an awful lot of personal information that especially in the tax office that we have. And it's our responsibility to make sure we do everything we possibly can.
So you're not trying to find out if they're on Facebook or Amazon, you're worried more about someone intruding?
That's a concern too, because,
I trust our department heads to make sure that our
$3,000 sounds like a lot of money.
But it's also tied that if for whatever reason somebody goes on a site where it's tagged as some kind of virus, that will pick that up as well, so.
$3,000 seems like a lot of money, but if you have an employee that, let's say, spends an hour a day on Facebook, that's 7 hours or 5 hours a week, it's, it could add up quick,
But let me just state that we're not thinking that the employees are doing that.
No, I'm not suggesting that, but I know that in some workplaces this has been tried and then they play solitaire. So if you're going to goof off at work, you're going to find a way to goof off at work.
I honestly don't think we have a problem with our
I don't
employees.
either. I'm not suggesting that. I'm questioning. So is it possible to use some of this great technology that we have so that we could see what the budget line items are? We're sitting here intently trying to follow and we're not privy. I understand it's a draft, I understand it's a workshop, but we're not really able to follow everything.
Do we have the ability to?
I'd settle for an overhead projector.
We could actually project it, probably.
Thank you,
I
that
think
would be-
Could we
that
do
would
that
be
for our next
wonderful.
meeting?
We can work on that. yes.
We can work on it. Thank you.
PowerPoint. I understand this is a workshop. Are you anticipating a tax increase? The newspaper said there would be a $300,000. We have a $300,000 difference. Are you still estimating it in that area? Can you tell us whether there will be a tax increase?
Well, that's what we're trying to drill down to, we would ultimately like to not have tax increase, but, what we're faced with is we've done well with health insurance. We had a 0 increase on that, which is phenomenal compared to what, unfortunately, most people are experiencing at this point. But we've also had some additional employees that have had some siblings and stuff that has still driven up the cost based on the usage of it. The cost is the same, but the amount of people that are using it has a tendency to drive it up. We've had salary increases We're anticipating the contractual, opportunity with our public works people in the near future. So, we're right now trying to ensure that we have enough budgeted to meet our salary needs, our insurance needs, liability needs, and a lot of other associated costs that go along with running the township. But at the 300,000, let's just say on the worst case scenario, and I'm not saying that's where it's going to be, because I'm sure we're going to make some cuts, but that comes out to a little over set, right?
Yeah, it's about what, a cent and a quarter, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to do our best to
Cent and
keep
a half.
that down, so.
So did I hear correctly that the only budget that was cut tonight was the green team?
No,
We haven't cut anything. This is just discussion of
We're
the,
just, bantering back and forth as to, where we can try and get some funds to bring this potential increase down a little bit.
And
But we also want to make sure that we provide the services that we always, do, and, some of the cost of fixed costs that have had some inflationary situations, and that's what we're trying to overcome.
I'm not sure which department this falls under, but you mentioned Moby mats for some beach streets, and I had contacted you earlier and asked that they be in the budget, and I was mistaken. I said we only had one street, we have two streets. Is that in the budget? Is that in a department we haven't gotten to yet?
Well, part of that will be an assessment with what they're trying to do with, maintaining and fixing some of the beach entry paths, the crossways and stuff. So that discussion will go there. If in fact we need some, we're going to assess what we have, and if we need some, that will probably be potentially, it could be in a capital bond, or it could be, just in the regular operating expenses.
Okay.
But we certainly want to make sure that we provide that.
And one other thing, is an activity like the Easter egg hunt comes under parks, will that be discussed at the next budget meeting too?
As far as the budget part of that? That's under our special events and
Special
recreation,
events, yeah.
so.
that's part of that recreation budget,
Part of
yes.
that.
Okay, so that's for next time. And this has nothing to do with the budget. Now, the second Wednesday of every month, there's shredding. Is there a time, or is it
Yes.
It's at the Public Works.
at Public Works?
Yeah.
I think it's like
It's
daytime hours.
like 9 to 2:30.
Okay.
Our website probably has it posted there.
Okay, I'll check that. I wasn't aware of that. And finally, this, again, I don't know if you know, but the county is doing work on the road as you approach the bridge into Strathmere, and our sign was removed. And I had spoken to the workers, I had spoken to Dale Foster, I was watching them take care of our sign, and it was leaning against a guardrail. Over the weekend, things got worse, and we also had an offer from a homeowner that said, tell them to come put it in my garage. That was an expensive sign. It's going to be restored, it's going to be replaced. Today, as I was coming in, I got an email that said Upper Township has picked up and is storing our sign. Could you tell me where it is, please?
It's in our public workshop, I'm sorry.
We have the sign, and everything is being coordinated with the construction crew out there, so that when they are almost done their project, they're going to coordinate with our public works, and we're going to put the sign up. We thought it would probably be in better hands if we took it and
Oh,
stored
please,
it.
I've been trying for several weeks, but I thought that it was a county issue.
Matter of
as
fact,
I
it was done the day that you said something about it.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know that it was you.
Pardon me?
I didn't know that it was you.
Oh, they waved
but
to me when I go by now. Yeah,
Apparently, I was approached by
yeah,
Ted.
that was, we
Ted Kingston told me
fundraised
about
for
it
that
and took care of
for
it.
2012 on, so that was an expensive endeavor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone else like to address the Township Committee? Okay, it sounds like there's no further public comment. I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and I'll go to Committeeman Coggins for a motion to go into executive session.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters are personnel, safety and security with outside work on the township property, litigation for affordable housing, and the estate of Kiwanis versus the Upper Township, contract negotiation with Atlantic Care, with our special legal counsel for tax court matters, and with our collective bargaining agreement. I also include in my motion the estimated time and circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Just,
I want to thank all of you for attending this evening. I wish you a safe journey home.